Welcome, everybody, to the Wholesaling Inc. podcast, America's #1 podcast for new real estate investors, where finding discounted properties is the most proven path to financial freedom. I am your host, Brent Daniels, Mr. TTP, and I am telling you, if I can do it, so can you. So let's get started. This interview is coming from Houston, Texas. I've got Mr. Joshua Sina here, and he is going to break down a deal that he completed. We're going to really dive deep into exactly how he found it and how he converted it and what he did to sell that property so that you guys can use this blueprint to go out there and do a deal yourself, because this podcast is all about instruction. It's not about education. It's not about entertainment. It's about instruction. So Joshua, say hello to everybody.
Hey, how's it going, Brent?
I'm excited. I'm really excited because you had posted a phenomenal wholesale check that you had made in your market there to the private TTP Facebook group, and it got everybody excited, a ton of comments, and you really inspired everybody in that group, and I just wanted to break it down. But let's talk about you. Give everybody your background. Tell everybody who is Joshua Sina.
Well, I practice clinical hypnosis in Houston, and I've been doing that for 28 years, and I have a private practice, and I'm very interested in real estate all those years, but never really kind of got into it, and did some different things, but that's kind of my background, is a hypnosis, psychology background, being a therapist all these years.
So you went to school for a really long time?
Yeah, I got my undergraduate degree in psychology, and then I did a master's degree in clinical hypnosis. And I'm also a licensed counselor in the state of Texas. Yeah.
Got it. So is this something that you would be, are you employed by somebody to do this? Are you like a private practice where you kind of are like a solopreneur type of thing?
Yeah, solopreneur. I have my own private practice. It's called the Houston Hypnosis Center.
Got it. Yeah. And then how did you, you obviously have a passion. Something sparked an interest in you. I remember reading Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and boom, I knew real estate was where I wanted to go. What was your spark of interest when it came to real estate investing, real estate wholesaling?
Well, I think the thing about it for me is I had tried doing some direct mail before, way back when, got interested in probate, did some direct mail probably about a year and a half before I found you and the Wholesaling Inc. family, and what had happened is before that I had actually gone to the foreclosure auctions.
Yeah.
And I would drive around, look at all the foreclosed properties, spend my time and gas researching the properties, go to the auction. And over about a year and a half of going to the auction, never got a single property.
And you're bidding all the time?
Yeah, bidding, spending money on title searches, gasoline, And so it was like, then I kind of got interested back into the probate thing. And I did this probate course with a woman up in Kentucky. And just so happens, one of the people that was in that course with me was Bill Rafter.
Oh, man.
So we were doing the course together, and then he kind of watching some of his comments. I talked with him, and then I saw the Wholesaling Inc. stuff online, and then I had a good conversation with him about it, and then that's when I got real interested in doing the wholesaling thing.
Sure. Love it. So that, let me ask you this. So did you have anybody in your family, or did you have a background in, why even go to the foreclosure auctions? Like, why even, you obviously went to school, you have your own business, you're very busy. Like, why real estate? Why not stocks? Why not buying another business? Why not something else? Why real estate as your preferred investment vehicle?
Well, I guess the main thing why I wanted to do it is because I had been interested in it a long time ago, and I'd gone to the foreclosure auctions a long time ago, was very interested, but I didn't have any money.
Mm-hmm.
right? I didn't have any money back then. And so, but it was always kind of in the back of my mind. Like, I knew there was possibility there. And
Yeah.
that's why, yeah, so that's kind of, it was always there.
Got it. Love it. And so you've got a full-time, like walk through your schedule now, because we have a lot of people listening to this that listen to it on their drive to work, on their drive home from work, at the gym. Like they have jobs or at least part-time jobs. They want to make this their main business. Like what does your schedule look like as a solopreneur going in and also doing wholesale deals? Because now things are rolling for you, and I'm excited to talk about that in a second. But how do you balance the two?
I don't know that I'm all that great at balance.
Okay.
Okay. Like I'm just like going, like I get up in the morning, I'm going, start the day. I do hypnosis clients in the morning. Okay. And then I get done, I make my calls for the call back my hypnosis clients and the people that have called in. Then after that, usually by that time, I'm going to pick my kids up from school. They come home, they start on their homework. I come in my office, I put on my headset, and I start calling my real estate leads.
But you're interesting because you knew to, right off the bat, you leveraged other people making the initial cold call, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, there was like I did the cold calls, and admittedly, I just want to say this, like I did it for like one day.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm going to get somebody else to do this part.
Sure.
Before I got into psychology a long time ago, I had a pretty extensive background in telemarketing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I used to sell like oil wells over the telephone and Montgomery Ward Auto Club and long distance service, and it was all telemarketing. And so I had a good background in that, but I really didn't want to, I have more money than time now.
Got it.
Okay.
Love
so
that.
like I needed somebody to to sift through, find the people that were motivated, find the people that were interested, and then I wanted to talk to them.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. Yeah. And you were in a very fortunate position. Not a lot of most people are the other way, right? They have more time than they have money. So you're in a very unique position there where you were able to hire people. Now, where did you, is there a company or service that you got your callers from, or did you just get a VA to make calls for you, a virtual assistant?
No, initially I used the one that you recommended, the call motivated seller people.
Yep.
Yep. And then I went to a lower cost solution.
Yep.
Yep. But yeah, and that was where I started. And, the thing that I think really worked for me about that was that, I could provide them the lists, put them into Mojo and just focus on providing the list to call.
Yep.
And then, have the hot sheets come through, the leads come through.
Well, and let's talk about this a little bit because so when you were using callmotivatedsellers.com, that's I've used them the last 3 years. They have Americans living abroad making the calls. So they're $20 an hour. It's not cheap. But for me, for my business, the average deal that I got from like a foreign caller was between, like somebody in the Philippines was between 10,000 and 15,000. With the Americans, it's 27,000. So not only are they giving me bigger deals because they can pull it out, but I want to know your experience because I want to know. So you went in, you had an American making the calls. Did you just feel like for what you were spending, you weren't getting enough quality leads in, and so you knew that there was value to making the calls, but you just wanted to lower your budget a bit?
Yeah, just lower the budget a bit. And part of what the other thing, and this is kind of, I just share this with the people watching that I think is really important about the calling, is that, my person isn't the only person calling those phone numbers.
Right.
Okay. Right. And so what we discovered was that there is a differentiation that's needed. There's a differentiation that's needed when the person makes the initial cold call, because there's 5 or 10 other people calling them too.
Yep.
So what we started to have a conversation about is what is it that would have you differentiate yourself from all the other people that are calling them all day long.
Love it.
Yeah.
So
And
how'd
so
that go? So what,
yeah,
I mean, are you
yeah,
willing to share a little bit of that? You know what I mean?
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, I want to share that because what it is it's all about communication. It's really talking to people, not just talking a script.
Yes.
Okay. Not just getting through the script, but actually having a conversation with them. And a lot of what we like the coaching and the working that I do with my caller is just about them being intimately related on the conversation and really feeling like the person that they're having a conversation with you rather than, oh, I'm just trying to get through this script and, hang up the phone.
Yep.
And being more interactive and more responsive to what's being said, and like building the rapport there. And, most of the time now when I call my leads back and I said, oh, yeah, you spoke with my associate, they say, oh, yeah, I remember her. And so that's the clue to me, like that's getting done.
Yeah, that is a perfect example of knowing that your people that are making the calls are making an actual impression and building a relationship. You know
Right.
what I mean? They're building a relationship on the phone if they can remember who it was, and they weren't just. And those are the best leads because those are people that actually listened and communicated and were answering the questions. It's really interesting with the callers that are in the Philippines. They are workhorses. They do the work. They are doing it incredible. It's just getting them to actively listen, getting them to not be so formal, and getting them to really care about the conversation and not worry about their job. You know what I mean? And do they have to switch scripts the next week? And they move from campaign to a campaign with different
Right.
companies so often that they can never really sink their teeth into. So what I would say is if you're going to hire a Filipino cold caller, at least a minimum that you have to budget for is 90 days of their efforts because now they're going to get into the rhythm. Now they're going to feel good. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I haven't used anybody in the Philippines, but what I will say is that there is a learning process that goes on just like anything. And I think that the learning process over time has been more about in the background, getting the caller to understand that we're bringing value to the people that are being called.
Yep.
Okay, and so often it's like just okay, I'm cold calling, I'm calling the script, I'm getting this information for you, but it's like really understanding. That's what I keep bringing back to the coaching calls is, hey, this is what happened with the lead that we got that we closed, and this is the difference that it made in their life.
Yep.
Okay, and understand, because I kind of
So
see the real
important.
estate. Yeah, I think the real estate thing is very much like what I do with hypnosis. I'm helping solve a problem. That's what I've done for years and years, and I'm doing the same thing. It's just in a different genre or different context.
Yeah.
But that's really what we're doing, and I want the cold caller to connect with like, hey, what we're up to here is making a difference in people's lives. Yeah, you're calling people, but what we're really up to is having a positive impact on these people, and we really are bringing value. So instead of it being like, oh, I'm intruding, oh, I'm like, interrupting this person, or they don't want to talk to me, it's like, yeah, we have something of value to bring here, and what we're really looking for is to see if they have a need or if it's a fit for them.
Yep. Yeah. 100%. If they don't have a problem to solve, why are they going to sell their property at a discount, right? Like
Yeah.
we have not only do we have an extreme responsibility knowing what we know. Not a lot of people know about wholesaling property. Not a lot of people know that there is 6 to 10% of the market that's in distress. Knowing that, if you're not going out every single day and seeing how you can solve the problems of your neighbors, of your community, you are just you're handcuffing yourself. Like, go out there, provide as much value and support and love and problem solving as you can bring, and you can make a fortune. I mean, it literally is a cash machine. It literally is like hitting the lottery, but that's because we solve some serious problems.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah. I'll just share this with you too, because this is kind of this is different than the deal you're talking about, but I wanted to share this with you too, because I don't know if I really talked about this before, but before I joined Wholesaling Inc., right, I'd watched that free video that Cody has, and he talks about, like, yeah, we just send them out this little postcard, and and so I thought to myself, well, I'm going to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to just try that, right? So I made these postcards on my computer. My wife and I cut them up. We got the tax delinquent list, and I said, I want to search for the highest amount of tax owed, right?
Yeah.
Around where I live, right?
Yep.
So we got about 130 names. We send out these, homegrown postcards. I get a call, right? This woman, they owed $80,000 in back taxes.
In property taxes.
Yeah, and they had just gotten served with a lawsuit. They're about to lose it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so fast forward, we got that deal. We actually bought it outright. So we didn't wholesale. We bought it outright, held it for about a year, and then I sold it to a investor, flipper, renovator kind of guy. And it was about $112,000 profit.
Oh! That's how much you made?
Yeah.
112,000.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Hold on. I got to ring the bell for this. This is bananas.
Yeah. And that was, like I said, that was before I even joined Wholesaling Inc. But just so I would say that using that was kind of like, okay, well, yeah, maybe there's something here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what happened.
Incredible. And then you you make this $112,000 deal on a homemade postcard, and then so why? Because you joined TTP with a lot of enthusiasm, you're ready to go, you joined the TTP family, the program,
Right.
And so why jump into that after? I mean, were you sending out more postcards? Were you just wanting more? Go ahead.
Yeah, because I wanted more consistent deal flow.
Yep.
I want more consistent deal flow, and Houston's a competitive market, and the number of people doing direct mail is incredibly high, a lot. So I was doing postcards, I was doing direct mail, and I wasn't getting the responses consistently that I wanted.
Got it.
So that's why, and the whole thing with the direct, cold calling, being proactive, that really appealed to me. And I'm a big believer in thrift.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to lower my cost.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, love it. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about the deal that you posted to our private TTP Facebook group. I believe it was, and you're going to have to correct me on what you actually netted from it, but
Okay.
was it 26 or 28,000 and some change?
Yeah, well, the check was like 28, but the net was probably around 22 or 23,000.
Okay, so let's break this down by which list did you call?
Well, it's an interesting story, Brent, because you have a criteria in your program where you call it a tired single family.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And it's like how they discovered Post-it notes and a lot of other things. It's like by accident, right? I actually got this list by accident because you had a criteria on there on your tired single family thing that I left off.
Nice.
And it was the value of the home. Like you say, well, do it 200,000 and below.
Right.
Well, I missed that part.
Sure.
And so we got all the value. So this house was actually valued probably at about $500,000.
Love it.
And so it's the tired single family list, only with a different value criteria. And the cold caller was calling, and when she called her up on the phone, the woman answered. You'd say, well, hi, I know this call's out of the blue, but I was calling about your house there on, Main Street, whatever. And she said, have you thought of selling? And the woman just goes, yes. And so,
Yes.
yes. And so the funny thing about it is like, I was listening to the recording, and my cold call, it was like so clear, and like she almost didn't believe it. And she goes, so you've thought of selling?
Yeah, right. Yeah. It throws you off. Yeah.
Yes, she asked her twice. So anyway, it was kind of an interesting story because the woman had just gotten done dealing with another investor.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And that didn't work out.
So they had it under contract and canceled it?
Yeah, well, the person couldn't perform.
Yep.
Okay. And interestingly enough, when I got the deal, we got it under contract, it was a very challenging. It wasn't just one of these that was like real easy. Like I had to really gain this person's confidence and them understanding that, yeah, like we're going to get this deal done. We're going to get it sold. We're the real deal. And so it was all these different obstacles that we had to overcome. Like she wanted to use her title company.
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't going to work.
Right.
We needed to use mine.
Sure.
First I sent her my one-page contract that I normally use with everybody. That wasn't going to cut it either. She wanted a TREC with the Texas Real Estate, Commission contract.
The realtor contract, yeah.
Yeah, so all those different things we had, and it was really about gaining her trust. But one of the other things that I like to tell people about, like how I approach this, is that you have to be willing to do those things that a lot of people aren't willing to do,
Yeah.
And during this process, I was like, I threw up my hands several times. I'm like, God, I just don't know if I'm going to get this done.
Yeah.
And I kept on, and I kept on. And when it came down to the title company, it turns out that the title company that she wanted to use, which wasn't going to work for us, interestingly enough, the fee attorney that worked for that title company used to work for the one that I use.
Got it.
So I called him up. I had a conversation with him and just said, look, like, I know you're not going to get like this deal. I'm not going to do this through you, but I just wanted to find out like what's going on. And he was like, man, I'd be more than happy to reach out to her, because he remembered her. And she was saying, you need to call this guy. He's at this title company. So he called her.
Mm-hmm.
For me, like
Awesome.
Just like, okay, fine, know. And so anyway, after that, we got it all done. She said, okay, I'm ready to move forward. So fast forward, I send it out to all of my cash buyers,
Yep.
right? And by the way, that's the other thing I wanted to share, with like your cash buyer list just is critical.
Critical. And
Yes.
let me just let me just point one thing out real quick, Joshua. So the reason he was saying that the title company wouldn't work for him was not all title companies are familiar with wholesale transactions. Not all title companies are familiar with double escrows or double closings. So you got to find one that, one, knows the process, and two, they will do it. Some of them just don't do it. Some of them don't want to do those transactions. They want to stick specifically what they're great at, which is traditional real estate deals. Because a lot of times with title and with escrow officers and title companies, it's a lot easier for them if they have real estate agents running, all of the processes for them and making sure that the sellers and the buyers are signing everything and coming in and everything's organized. But when there's not, some title companies just don't want to even deal with it. So they want the easy path. So the ones that want the ones that are a little bit more work, which I like because they're more gritty and they're amazing, are the ones that you want to find and work with. So that's what Joshua was talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, the reason why it wasn't going to work with that title company is because I do pass-through funding and pass-through title policy, or pass-through premium.
Okay.
So that way, I don't have to bring my cash to the table to get it to do it.
Right.
And most title companies won't do that, but I have one that does. And so I've even had a title company, when I've talked to them about being a wholesaler, being an investor, she goes, no, we don't handle transactions like that, and hung up the phone on me.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So,
yeah, I know. Yep.
Yeah,
And when
so
you say
having
pass through, you mean like a double escrow, right? Where their funds are paying for your closing as well. You're
Right.
literally closing on it for like that same moment. So
That's
if
correct.
anybody needs some clarity there, okay, great. And
Yeah.
what was the motivation of the seller, and what was the condition of the property?
Okay, so her motivation is that she lived out of state,
Yep.
and she used to rent the property, but one winter the pipes froze up in the attic. It burst, what came down through the kitchen, ruined the sheetrock, ruined the wood floor in another room. It was, she was paying taxes on it, and she had it on the market for almost 2 years.
Yeah.
And she was just ready to be done. She wanted to move on from that part of her life. She just wanted to be done with it.
Yeah.
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 And she was like ready. And I think her motivation also was that there was something about her and her husband. Her husband wanted to move back to Houston, but she didn't want to. And so I think there was another component there about just like wanting to have completion with Houston.
Yep. I
So
get it.
that door wasn't quite open anymore.
Yep.
Yeah.
100%. And so it was left in that condition. I mean, it needed some significant rehab.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It needed, and not only that, it was in a really incredible part of Houston. It was
Love
one of the nicest parts of Houston, in the center of town, and it was really conducive to somebody actually adding on to it as well as rehabbing it.
Got it.
So really kind of making it nice.
And this lead came from your cold caller. How many hours does your cold caller call for you, and what do they charge you? And you said there wasn't Philippines, so where is this caller located?
In the
that's
Americas.
A three-part question there.
Yeah, in the Americas, $10 an hour in the Americas.
Cool.
Yeah, and it's about 20 hours a week.
Great.
So 4 hours a day, Monday through Friday. Yeah.
It's $800 a month for 80 hours of calls and leads coming into you, and you do the lead follow-up when you're done with work and the kids and everything. And this is just on top of everything else that you're doing. It's just incredible. It's incredible. So let's finish up this. Where does your caller use the Mojo Dialer?
Yeah. So the Mojo is what we use.
And
right?
where do you pull your list, and how do you get the phone numbers?
Okay, well, I use the prop stream.
TTPdata.com, TTP data.
Yep. So we use the prop stream thing that you recommended. We also get, trying to think of where else we get leads from. We get, the typical probate, the tax delinquent, all that kind of stuff. So we call that too, evictions. And then we get the phone numbers from the company, the batchskiptracing.com.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Awesome. So what did you get it under contract for, and what did you make?
Okay, so we got it under contract at $485, and sent it out, and ended up getting $510 for it.
Love it. And you netted how much?
It's about, I guess, just around 22 or 23 after the closing costs.
Joshua, here comes ring number 2.
Yeah,
I love it.
I just want to say that I couldn't do this by myself, and that's another thing. Like you talk about, like the nuggets to share with people is that like for me, one of my like ways of operating for many years is like I do it all myself. you know,
Sure.
done my hypnosis practice myself, and it's like I had to really start to trust people and delegate. And my wife helps me a tremendous amount. Like, I couldn't do this without her because she's like the data scientist, so she handles like the data part. We have a VA, and so we're offloading a lot of the things that have to be done, and that I'm just not going to spend my time doing, but
Sure.
that they can do.
Yep.
Yeah.
Love it. So I love asking this question. If you're brand new,
Yeah.
never done a deal,
Yeah.
you have $500. I drop you in the middle of nowhere, right? I drop you in a different market you don't really know. How do you get your first deal? Give advice to the people that are working on going from that place of belief that they can do this to it being a fact and actually getting paid their first check from wholesaling. What advice?
Wow, they only got $500?
Yep.
Okay. So, wow, that's a good question. What I would do is I would probably drive for dollars.
Yep.
And start utilizing, just what's closest to them, looking for the beat up houses, the fixer uppers, the dogs around them, and starting to generate a list that way.
Would you use an app?
Yeah, I would use the one. Now, I used to use Deal Machine.
Yep.
Used to use Deal Machine. We switched to a different one now, but the land, it's called Land Glide.
Yeah.
So I use Land Glide, but either one, and get those leads skip traced.
Yep.
And call them.
That's it.
And use the script. Yeah. Oh, by the way, hold on. I want to share this with you because this is my first TTP deal that I ever got right before I joined TTP.
Yeah.
So I think I told you about this, but like my best friend, he owns a tree trimming company.
Okay.
He was trimming these trees out on this property, and he noticed he knew that I was into real estate, and he noticed the house next door, and it was all like dilapidated, like kind of run down. The backyard was completely overgrown. The grass was high. You could tell the fascia wasn't being maintained at all. So he wrote down the address for me.
Mm-hmm.
And sent it to me, texted it to me. He
Yep.
said, "Hey, man, this is the story." He got the story from the neighbor. He actually skip traced it for me because he has some skip tracing thing that he uses through his company.
Sure.
So he sent me the phone number of the guy. I called up. I had gotten your script, right, that
Yep.
you had in your video. And I said, "Hey, this is Joshua. I know this is call out of the blue, but I'm calling about your house on Ken Ross, blah, 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 blah. I wondered if, you're open to, if you thought of selling it or you're open to receiving an offer." He goes, "Yes and yes." and literally, it was like the first TTP call I made.
Yep.
And so anyway, I had to follow up.
Yeah.
I mean, I had to follow up that guy. His main motivation was that he didn't have the time. It was his dad's house. His dad was in assisted living.
Yep.
And he lives almost an hour away from it, and he's like a real busy CPA, and he was tired of jacking with it, and his dad needed the money for assisted living.
Got it.
And I had to follow up for like 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And then finally, got it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I mean, just a ton. You broke down everything. You've been open about everything. You just shared a ton. I really, really, really appreciate you jumping on here and giving everybody value today. I really do. Thank you, Joshua.
Yeah, you got it, Brent. Can I just say one more thing?
Yeah.
Because you've been a really big contribution to me. And I really appreciate your sincerity and your authenticity. And there was something that you recommended to your viewers a while back, and on the TTP Facebook site too. You recommended the Todd Toback No Limit Selling thing.
Yep.
And I did that, and I just want to tell you that is incredible. That is worth every single penny.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah,
Yeah, that
Todd
has really
Tovac's
helped.
incredible. Yeah, convertwholesaledeals.com. That's where you can find that if you're looking. Todd's the absolute master at it. But yeah, first of all, thank you, and thank you for actually going through it because it just takes it to the next level.
Yeah, yeah,
Yep.
it really does. And I say that the reason why I say that is because a lot of what he said, what he talks about in that course, right, is what I think a lot of wholesalers encounter, but they haven't really developed those distinctions on how to deal with it effectively
Yep.
and not waste your time and bring it to a close.
Yep.
And I would say that that's almost like required, like it's a
Yeah,
prerequisite.
I listen. It's required with every single staff member. Everybody in my company goes through that
Yeah.
course every week. We do 15 minutes of that course as training. I'm telling you, we went from $12,000 a deal to $27,000 a deal because of Todd's training. It's incredible. Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Awesome.
So thank you for that.
Thank you, Joshua. Everybody out there watching, if you are tired of waiting around for deals or things to happen for you in the wholesaling and you're that proactive person, you got to join the most proactive group in real estate investing. It is the TTP program. Go to wholesalinginc.com/TTP. Wholesalinginc.com/TTP. Scroll down, check out what the program is about, check out all the testimonials. If it feels good in your gut, then sign up for a call. I look forward to working with you personally. Joshua, you're the man. Thank you so much. Everybody
Thank you.
out there, Rhino Nation, everybody listening, I love you so much, and I always encourage you to talk to people. Till next time. See you guys.